What's going on, everybody? It is Cooper. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast is proudly brought to you by Monster Energy. If I don't have an ultra sunrise each morning, the sun does not rise for me. And I'll tell you what, in almost 40 years of life, breathing on this planet, never, not a once, have I ever punched through sheetrock. Don't believe the hype. Monster Energy, proud sponsors of the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. We are also brought to you by Violent Gentlemen Hockey Club, VGHC. If you don't know about Violent Gentlemen Hockey Club, check them out on Instagram at Violent Gents. Their kick-ass hockey clothing line. They got something team-specific for every hockey team you follow as we get closer and closer to hockey season here. Or if you're just into badass, bad attitude apparel, they got it all. Violent Gentlemen Hockey Club, sponsors of your Welcome to Cooperville podcast. Very excited about this week's episode. Great conversation with Dan Beck, young entrepreneur, founder of Midwest Meals, and just an all-out good dude. I do want to warn you, because apparently I need to start doing this. There is a lot of F-bombs in this episode. So if this is one of those things where you're like, oh, I was going to listen to the Welcome to Cooperville podcast and the kids are in the room, they are going to be exposed to some colorful language. And depending on how you like to parent and what you think is appropriate, inappropriate, important, and not important, just want to give you some fair warning. Dan Beck episode starts right now.
Welcome to Cooperville.
Do you know what's fun to do in Cooperville? Pack up your shit and get the fuck out!
Listen. www.welcometocooperville.com. Who the fuck says www anymore? I can't even say it. www. Stop that. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast. On demand anywhere quality podcasts are available. And some places where cheap podcasts are available.
At the local gas station has some.
Subscribe, get updates, feel better about your life. Welcome to Cooperville.com. Check.
Welcome to Cooperville! Make sure you use a coaster. The wife gets upset when we leave rings on the tables.
Who is Dan Beck? That's the question that we will answer today, if you don't already know. And that's also your Instagram handle, so I think it's fitting to open with that. But Dan Beck is my guest on the Welcome to Cooperville podcast, episode number 24 already. So thanks for coming down, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And now that I know that you live like 2 blocks away, like chaos is about to ensue. I'm going to be out running one morning, and you're going to be out like, get after it, pussy! I'm going to have to run faster.
I'll follow behind you on my motorcycle.
This dude's chasing me. But no, entrepreneur, fitness, health, tattoos, motorcycles. Dude washes his car like every fucking day. I mean, just all out go-getter.
We try.
Yeah. And I think that's, a lot of the stuff that we want to get into today is about finding that, because I think, and you and I kind of, before we started recording here, kind of we're talking back and forth about motivation and, some people that are out there that really, do offer that inspiration. But I think, it takes more than just putting out a clever saying or a post that inspires people. I think you have to actually live it and drive it every single day. And I think you're a prime example of that. Because what are you, like 20?
25.
Fucking 20.
Going on 26.
Get the fuck out of here, 25 years old. I'm touching 40.
I'm still a baby.
Yeah, I'm touching 40 like some frightened teenager, with his first time he's with a girl, like, I don't know. I'm a little nervous here, but no, I'm actually my new hashtag is fuck 39 because we're going to kill it.
Hell yeah!
But you're from around the area though, right? Are you
Ladysmith, Wisconsin?
Ladysmith, Wisconsin. Yep. Born and raised.
Yep. So just about an hour 15 north of here.
North or south of Highway 8?
I am south.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew, it was about to get.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is what they say. Don't question things that happen north of Highway 8.
North of Highway 8, there's more beer in your truck than gas.
That's how we live, people. I mean, that's just, if you don't understand Wisconsin, visit sometime and you'd be like, what is this happy hour stuff? Like, what is a Bloody Mary, cheese curd? I mean, we'll show you the ropes out here. So born and raised in Ladysmith, but you spent some time out on the West Coast.
Yep. So actually, like, even to go back a little further, I grew up a skateboarder. Mm-hmm. I thought I was going to live in California the rest of my life. That's, as a skateboarder, you kind of think West Coast, sunsets, the whole super nice. That's where everyone's at in skateboarding. So I got the opportunity in 2016. I was out there for a year, and it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. You know, it's a super cool place to visit, not somewhere that I wanted to actually live. You know, it's one of those things too where you don't have that Midwest vibe.
Right.
It's weird,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's a totally another world out there.
Yeah, and you see it, you know, when you see places like Huntington Beach, and you see, you know, beaches and the palm trees, and, you know, chicks on roller skates, and, you know, musicians out with guitars, and, you know, with the guitar cases open, you know, and I've talked to a few of those that made that trip and did the LA thing, and, you know, when you visualize it, or when you see it on YouTube, or you see it in a movie, you know, the scene is always very picturesque. It's always like, well, the sun is up, and the beaches, you know, get out there early and put your towel down, and that's. But what you don't hear about is, you know, when the beach day is done, or it's not a perfect day, it can be a little scary out there. You know, the conditions. You know, it's not really a place that's made for going out and trying to survive, you know, as a human being, especially when you have Midwestern roots, and we just kind of have a different mentality. Well,
it's just completely different too. I mean, around here, if you're at a grocery store and someone brushes by you, they're gonna, you know, acknowledge your existence. Sorry about that.
My bad.
Sneaking by you to grab the ranch. But I mean, out there, I mean, it's not like it's bad. It's just different.
Yeah.
And it's not what I thought it was gonna be. So, you know, kind of living out there. I was out in San Bernardino. San Bernardino, as I called it. So I was out there during my undergrad, and, you know, it wasn't really for me. So I moved back and finished out at UW Eau Claire, and that's kind of where, you know, I just started realizing that this is kind of the area that I wanted to be. Not to say that I won't, you know, grow from here, but it's still the Midwest thing.
You know, when you and we'll get into to Midwest meals and starting your own business and being, you know, successful entrepreneur at the age of 25. You know, college is a thing that I didn't, when I was at that age, you know, to attend, you know, the latter part of, you know, the 16, 17, 18. I did a lot of moving around when I was in that wheelhouse. My mom went from, you know, from college into having a job, and I went from school to school to school. And not that it's her fault, because I've owned the fact that I could have made probably some better life choices. I could still make that statement to this day. But that didn't line up, you know, for me. And there's people that don't find their path into college and learn the book stuff, but still go on to be successful entrepreneurs. But you've combined those two things. You know, you have the educational background, you know, in business, but yet it takes more than just. And I think you've even mentioned this. There's friends of yours that you went to school with that have the same degree, that have gone from job to job already in just you know, a handful of years, where it takes a certain level of individual, it takes a certain level of drive internally for a person to be able to go and say, here's my idea, here's my concept, here's my plan, here are my goals, and to actually go out and attack it. And you've been able to do that. Yeah.
And to step back a little bit too, like I went to college and I graduated, and I would do it again if I was looking at myself from a high schooler.
Right.
But looking back, I would never do it again. I think, you know, and I don't look down on someone for going to college, because I'm super pro education, pro learning, but I think it's overpriced for what it is.
Right.
At least as long as you're not in a technical, like I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to be a doctor, something that you need those skills for.
Yes, I would prefer that if I'm having, you know, open heart surgery, it's not like, well, I Googled the shit, and I think
this is my first one.
I watched a how-to video. I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay.
Yeah, but no, 100%. It's as far as in business, there's so much more to learn in just actually physically doing it. And I say that coming from one school. I don't know that, you know, a school in somewhere else might, you know, actually touch on those stuff. But when you go through 4 years and you spend, you know, $50,000,
right,
and they don't tell you how to pay taxes, how to pay employees, stuff like that, it's an issue. Because, I mean, they're teaching you such high-level stuff that fundamentally, like, you need to know, and you can develop that stuff, but do you need 4 years to go through that?
Right. And when we live in a day and age, and, you know, and I just referenced Google and YouTube, I mean, literally from even, I would say our parents, but we're in a different generational gap here. But, you know, the generations before us, you know, information was really hard to attain. It was really hard to find out, you know, unless you had a textbook or, you know, somebody with a vast amount of knowledge that could pass along information to you. It was really, you had to have professors and classrooms and study and tutors to be able just to kind of learn the basics, where now I believe the high schools are doing a better job of preparing, kids for options that are not just college, but also the information. If you want to know something, you can find it out. I mean, it is, and this is something that having a child that's 9 and has really been entrenched in a digital age since birth, will not know what a payphone is, will not know what it's like to not have Wi-Fi. I grew up, it was like when we got the internet, it was, the dial-up stuff.
Yup.
In 10 minutes, I'm going to be able to get to this page, and it's going to be epic. But everything is so fast-paced, and if he's a person, an individual that will find something and be like instantly obsessed with it, and sometimes in a bad way, and sometimes in like a wow, he really can find out for a while it was fire alarms. And could literally lay out the internal structure of a building and what it needed, and we were at Action City for a birthday party, and he was like, oh yeah, they got the TI 150s out running here, and look like those in a 3/4 coaxial, and I'm like,
but how badass is that that access is there now? Just
like that. And there are groups, and there are places where you can go and find, if the information isn't readily available for free, there are chat rooms and blog posts of people that are just throwing this information out there. So for whatever path that you decide to choose, whether it's in high school or whether you're 25 or whether you're 39 and you want to start your life over, or you want to find a place to go, that information doesn't necessarily mean, okay, go back to college so you can learn how to do it, unless you wanted to be a doctor.
Right. And I mean, too, like, it gives you that low risk investment into, whatever, so you can actually explore more and figure out what you actually want to do, which is awesome.
And you mentioned skateboarding and your time out in California and that being a passion of yours. But this was something that started obviously for you at a very young age, and maybe even, I'll combine entrepreneur and philanthropist perhaps into the same, or you really wanted a fucking skate park in Ladysmith, like in a bad way. Tell me about what happened when you were 16.
So it was more out of necessity than anything. Ladysmith is on a downward spiral. It's not the nicest town, but it's home. Yeah. And I still go back. I still visit family. But growing up, I was kind of an interesting person too. I was a skateboarder. I like rock music. Now I'm tattooed and I ride motorcycles. But in school, I was a nerd.
Right. Wow.
I 100% was the exact opposite, but I got really into skateboarding. Mm-hmm. And there was a skate park, but it was scary. You would, ride up a ramp and your foot would fall through a piece of wood, and I mean, I witnessed many of people breaking arms because of poor equipment.
Right.
So when I was actually 15 going on 16, we started, throwing out this idea of, hey, why don't we just build something? And maybe it was naivety, I don't know. And we had a couple of people that were a little bit older, had a little bit more life experience that were with us. So it wasn't just me and being 16 trying to figure this all out. But we started rolling with it, and, it took a couple of years, but we put together, we called it the Ladysmith Skate Park Coalition. And nice. We went out to actually the local city hall and worked with the local officials, and we're like, hey, this is what we want to do. Like, we get it. You guys might not be into skateboarding. You might think it's this, drugs and whatever. Right. It's not necessarily, and it gives some people stuff to do. In Ladysmith, it's go to Walmart and
find a cornfield with a beer. That's what you do.
Exactly. And we really wanted to roll with it. So we started, selling T-shirts and doing fundraisers. And at Mardi Gras, we would go around and collect donations. And we did this for about 2 years, and we actually raised, through donations and through all of our raisings, we raised close to $100,000.
Jesus.
And we bought actually equipment from an auction from a Minnesota skate park that closed down. And we got it all trucked over, and we all got together. We got everyone's parents' tools, and we got everything together. And we completely redid the skate park, and that's kind of where I kind of started realizing this entrepreneurial drive where hey, if you don't like something, you can change it.
Right.
You know, like every idea out there is someone else's thought. Why can't I have that same thing?
You know, it's amazing, especially at that age when you talk about, 15 to 16-year-olds and trying to remember when I was 15 or 16, I was riding the dinosaurs to school back then and chiseling on tablets to get my homework done. But no, I mean, there's so many other things that are going on in your mind, in your body, in your life, with school, depending on where you're at, in your home life, it's, you're starting to make those big decisions about, your future, whether it's a military future, whether it's college, whether it's tech, whether it's, I have no fucking idea, but I'm going to, figure it out. But to have that kind of internal drive and passion and mental wherewithal to be like, you know what, I think something can be done. I think maybe a lot of teenagers have that thought process.
Yep.
Like, it would be cool if, and man, this sucks, but I can't change it because I'm only 15, I'm only 16. But to take it to a level where, you're raising six figures in a fairly short period of time, considering, that had to be a pretty big indicator, at least maybe not as much at the time, but when you reflect back on it and say, okay, now I kind of start to understand where that mentality came from.
Yeah. And I mean, really, like, it's systematically, like, I mean, in high school, people say, no,
Right.
you can't do. One little, I mean, and it doesn't even have to be that. It can be, something as small as selling some T-shirts to people, is just realizing that fact that you don't have to, live within this scope that everyone gives you. And I mean, yeah, reflecting back, it has played a huge role in who I think I am now and where I kind of want to go.
And I think now, if you were to find a teenager or somebody in that age range at this point, because the things like printing T-shirts and getting stickers made, it is so easy to get done now. I mean, you want something, again, you jump on the World Wide Web and you can get it done, and usually at a fairly reasonable price point. But I think even with that ease of access, it would still, in 2019, if somebody was doing what you did back when you were 16, that person, I think, would still stick out as, okay, there's something in that person, because it takes more than just the ease of going on and getting some T-shirts printed. There's a whole much more that goes into that. And in this day and age, even how easy it is, that person has still probably got some, like, keep an eye on that one.
Yep.
That one's going to be okay. Don't let them get any girls pregnant, okay? Because that's going to screw it all up. But no, it's a really cool to be able to acknowledge, and then for you, I'm guessing, look back and say, okay, yeah, that's what now gives me the drive on a daily basis, and not just long term, but every day, being better, thinking of new things.
And it's kind of cool too to almost try to be a role model for those people that are coming up skateboarding or doing something like that,
Right.
where a lot of times it comes from a broken home. Something along those lines is giving them that kind of, hey, this is possible. And I mean, looking up from me, like, I look at people like Rob Deerdeck. He was a professional skateboarder.
Yeah.
He is a business magnate. He is insane. But people don't put the spotlight on him because he's not, such a in the industry pro skateboarder anymore.
Right.
And it's just giving those people hope.
Yeah, and I don't think people look at, you look at a guy like Rob, and there's a ton more out there that are in fields, if you will, that aren't necessarily mainstream, and maybe have a connotation of being, like you mentioned, kind of there's a bad vibe that goes along with it, like, oh, skateboarding, and doing BMX biking, and
Yep.
motor, X Games and all these other things that are out there. But a lot of those guys that are out there, especially the ones that really excel, they find their ways into, maybe it's a sponsorship deal that opens up, and then they're kind of in the inner workings of, well, hey, I had this idea, if we put this sticker on this, or what if, my saying is this, but we put your logo, all of a sudden they start to kind of get this grasp of, wait, there's more than just first place trophies and checks to collect out here. There's
Yep.
ways to not only expand your brand, but to expand your business, just by using the leverage that you have being in a game that is a little bit, non-mainstream. It's not on
Yep.
TV on Thursday night, with an 80-yard field. Sorry,
Yep.
referencing the craptastic game last night that I had to turn on and turn back off.
Yeah, I was struggling with it. I watched it too.
Canada. Come on, man. Get you. You're all so nice. I bet they're really apologetic too. Like,
yeah.
In case
sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, we didn't cover that hole in the middle of the field right where you're
trying to play football.
Sorry, we didn't know you were coming. My buddy texted me last night. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And I was like, "Well, maybe they didn't know the game was." I'm like, "Oh, was that today? Oh shit!" Like, "Oh, we'll get that fixed." But Midwest Meals, and we'll kind of get into to that. Where, from college into, and I mentioned before the podcast started, where we first met, at a supplement shop, Sups, my buddy Nick over there, and I was just in grabbing some stuff. I was gonna, be 34 at the time, and get all, get all jacked. I'm like, no, dude, my body frame is just, it's not like that. But here you are in there, talking about your idea, and I briefly just, kind of caught some, some whiffs of it, and this concept of, meals ready to eat and health, and I was. It kind of was. It was in one ear out the other, but then shortly thereafter, picking up on the progress of your business adventure and how it's gone from face-to-face meetings, and I have this idea and fancy business cards. Which again, kids, you can get your business cards made like in 2 seconds.
Yep.
I have some.
I want one.
It'll get you right back into this basement. I'll tell you what. But there's but you've taken this to such a level that it's, I don't know because I haven't been in that position yet with this company, but do you look at it and go, wow, like we've really in a very short period of time, it's been 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, to come from concept to, the building to, wow, we've got something really, really special going on here.
Honestly, no, not yet.
No, not yet.
Because
good.
And maybe it's just who I am too. I see way more potential in it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's my fault for not being able to appreciate where we're at. But I see it at such a bigger level, and I still have so much footwork to do that I never really take that second to be like, hey, 3 years, maybe I should, celebrate it. Nah.
There's wise man once said, and just because I was just, as you walked in, I think I was still about the 4th time through David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, the audiobook. There is no, and he's, I think, more referencing it in a mental state and a physical state, but I think it applies really in all aspects. Is there's never really a finish line to anything in business, in physical health. What he's really talking about is everybody is kind of looking for the end, like, oh, get up and run and do my thing, or lift, or put my time and effort and energy into, because I'm trying to get to the end, this finish line, this imaginary place that exists, whether it's retirement or hey, I'm training now because I'm going to run that marathon in 2020, and then after I run it, then I'm done. But I think when you don't reflect back on the smaller accomplishments, or even though they're huge accomplishments of 3 years, because that there isn't, if there is a finish line, then it keeps it, as far as you move ahead, that finish line keeps on moving until eventually, until there is an end.
I'm the type of person too that I'll probably work till the day I die.
Yeah.
Personally. I mean, I have no grandeur visions of I'm going to go retire on a beach on Florida, because as soon as someone retires, you start dying.
Right.
I mean, you got to like what you do, and you got to be able to do it for forever. And I mean, that's exactly going back to that. Everyone's looking for, and we see it a lot too, because it's ready to eat meals. People look at it like, oh, if I only get to X weight, or oh, only if I do this, I'll feel better. They don't understand that it's this entire journey. And
it's about longevity. And I think you see when we talk about the finish line, retirement. And you see a lot of people that are coming out of retirement and doing things that they actually wanted to do their entire lives.
Yep.
And it's also a generational thing where, when this retirement age was set eons ago, you had guys that were working 12 hours a day in a factory with shitty conditions and just literally almost killing themselves physically and, mentally. I can't imagine that drain on your brain every single day to go do that. Come home, you ate, you went to bed, you got up, and you did the same fucking thing. And then Saturday was the day to, I don't even know if they had fun back then when TVs were black and white. Sunday was church, and Monday was the same grind. So you wanted to have an end to that legit
Yep.
internal and external suffering that you had to go through just to be able to provide for what, depending on what time frame you look at, probably a larger family with 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes 9 kids, a wife that stayed home and did the cooking and the cleaning. And my dog is freaking out because he loves you, apparently. But now when we reference, there's going to be a lot of circling back here to things that we previously talked about. When you have opportunity to really do whatever makes you happy, why would you want to stop getting up every day,
right,
and going to do, like, this has made me happy for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years. I'm going to stop doing it. So, like, you're going to sit on that beach for a day and be like, somebody get me back in the fucking kitchen. Okay.
Yep.
I got a meal idea. I got another, way
you
to
can only
expand.
drink so many margaritas.
Well, let me stop you there. I've been to Mexico, and you're right. You actually can. When you almost fall over in the gift shop at noon, you're like, but I'm from Wisconsin. It's okay. And go sit back at the bar. Yeah. I can see you, after your 3rd margarita, sitting on a beach, and you can't sit still. When you have an entrepreneurial mindset and you have kind of the, and I think you referenced this, and I want to talk more about kind of the people and the things that inspire you and keep that, the fire on keep the fire burning, but you want to try to be better every day.
Yeah.
I do believe that you do need to take breaks and rest. I think you need to, especially if you find yourself burnt out, or you find yourself like, I'm not sleeping enough, or, I'm grinding too hard, or I'm working too much. Like, yeah, take a break. Go sit on that beach.
It seems counterintuitive, and it's something that I like to work. I like to do that, and it seems so counterintuitive to me. But the more I do it, the more it makes sense, because you come back with more. You just, you take that mental break, and you can do that, through a smaller scale too, doing stuff like meditating that you had talked about, stuff like that helps that mental reset. But at times you need to step away and, come back with fresh eyes, because you get so involved in stuff too that, it's such a grind that you're just.
Yeah, it's so constant, and it affects you in, sleeping patterns. I mean, I'm sure you've had nights where you're like, all right, it's XYZ o'clock. I think one day you're like, I got to work till 1 a.m, or, I'm in the kitchen till here. But you try to get into that restful state so you can replenish. And for, a guy that works out often, to give your body that break so your muscles can recover and your brain can go through REM sleep and all the things that go along with that.
Well, there's so many parallels just between fitness and business too. It's the same kind of concept. You give it stress every day, every so often, but you need to give it that time to recover.
Yeah, but you've sat in bed at night and not been able to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have ideas and you have things, and it goes from, shit, if I don't get up and write this down, or if I don't, jot it down in my notes on my phone, this idea may not be here in, 3 hours when I have to wake up. And that's, again, goes back to that driven individuals. It just doesn't stop. The finish line keeps moving, or there is no finish line, because you're constantly in a state of forward motion.
Yeah. But it keeps you excited.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Because if it gets dull, then you better find something else to do.
Yeah.
If you start going to bed really easy, and you're not, waking up going, oh yeah, this is what I want to get knocked out today, or I already have my list of things I'm going to get knocked out today, but I need to add this because this came to me, as soon as I woke up. Are you a morning guy? Do you have a routine?
So I am very naturally a night owl.
by nature.
Yeah, by nature. Growing up, like MySpace, for instance, I'd sit on MySpace until 2-3 in the morning, and I'd prefer to sleep in.
Right.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I just feel the best personally when I am on a schedule and I can go to bed early, get up early, and start knocking shit out. But
sometimes.
But my circadian rhythm, on the other, sometimes it's kind of difficult to do. But I've become pretty structured in the sense that, I used to always think too that you need to be free to do whatever you want to have the freedom, but I've almost found the opposite, that when you have a schedule, you have more freedom.
Yeah.
And it's one of those kind of paradoxical things too, that when you are on a schedule, go to sleep, get up, you almost feel better that you can know what's going on, and it reduces that anxiety so that you can actually do what you want to do.
Yeah, when you become a morning, and I don't even say a morning person, because there are I'll call it an excuse because I never was. Whether that was because I was a night owl not because I couldn't sleep, but just because I was out and doing things. But I had that mentality for a long time, late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, maybe towards the late ones. But when you have it in your head, when you take control of your mind and you say, no, 4 a.m., my alarm is going to go off. And you will have people, I know because I live with them, or I'll post something on Instagram at 4 a.m. and what the hell are you doing? What happened? like shit goes wrong at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. What are you doing awake? But
it's either really good or really bad.
It's one of the two. But when you start to get your mind into it and you can hear that alarm go off, and the biggest thing to do, the most difficult thing to do, and the biggest thing to do is if you can get up and move and just kind of, your brain might lag behind you a little bit. It may still be on your pillow, but if you get up and you can get out, if you're a coffee person, have a coffee. If you're a Monster person, have a Monster. If you're just somebody who needs like a couple minutes to kind of breathe in some air and take a couple deep breaths, once you get into the day and you start to be able to find your time for, if it's meditation, if it's reading, if it's exercise or running, beating your dog because he's been barking. He's too small to beat. But all of a sudden you develop this routine, and that leads to a schedule. And a schedule leads to you finding out exactly how much free time that you have in your day. And a lot of people will tell you that they don't have time for things. They don't have time to work out. I don't have time to do this. Or I really like to read. And I've used this excuse for you when we were talking about reading. I'm like, I don't have. If you look at your day and you have it kind of scheduled out, well, I know that I need this to this for this. I know I need this to this to, get ready to go for the day, or shower or work out. I want to run for this. All of a sudden you start to look at your schedule and go, man, I got a lot.
Ton of time.
I got a lot of time. I could.
The biggest paradigm shift for me personally on that topic is going from I don't have time to it's not a priority.
Right.
Because when you say it's not a priority to me, and it kind of changes the scope of it. And then you go from saying, I don't have time to read to it's not a priority, and then you go, oh shoot, am I not a priority for myself?
Yeah.
And you start to actually, focus on those things that are good for you.
And I think in the industry that you're in your business, you've developed now it's something that takes away the excuse for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't have time to eat healthy. I don't have time to make a meal. It's much easier to call and order pizza. And God, you can get whatever the fuck you want delivered nowadays. I know I've taken advantage of it. I'm like, wait a minute, if they delivered IPA, man, I'd be like, just my life would be
soon.
Over. Yeah, it's on the list. Come on, Governor. But you've developed this product that now all of a sudden takes that excuse away.
Yeah.
Now you have time. Now you have something healthy. Now, not only that, but you've also now freed up some time in that schedule to do some things that maybe you have knocked off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean too, like with the entire, way that our society is moving, it's all towards convenience.
Right.
And it's what can you do to take away the excuse to say no? And I mean, that's with anything. With us, it's, people don't want to spend hours in the kitchen cooking. Okay. Some people like it, some people don't. All right. How about during the busy time, we have something ready for you?
Right.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, too, obesity rates are still continue to climb.
Yeah. Don't let who you follow on Instagram fool you.
Yeah. Okay? It's scary, actually. I mean, through every possible fad out there, every possible scare that the media tries to push out there, obesity rates have continued to climb.
Right.
And, I mean, ultimately, that's kind of why we exist, too, is to help fight that. And it's the convenience of it, and we also have that huge nutritional aspect of it where we're trying to, actually educate the consumer. Hey, this is what you might have heard on Instagram because it's easy for people. Again, I mean, there's the pros and cons of internet is there's a lot of great stuff and there's a lot of bad stuff. And it's trying to, be that voice of reason because there's so many people out there that are trying to use it in a way that benefits them but hurts other people. Yeah,
and social media can be excuse me, it really, no matter what your personal goals are, whether it's to be healthier, to make more money, to start a business, to do something that you love doing, you start falling into the rabbit hole of social media, and it can take you to a place where all of a sudden you don't feel like you're very important. Whether that's a self-esteem thing, whether it's, hey, I was really going to try to start, bettering myself in this way, and all of a sudden I'm knee deep in ass on Instagram because it's all fucking over the place. Like I started following like this Jeep company, and all of a sudden I'm like, nope, this is just ass. It's ass next to Jeep tires. I'm like, I didn't unfollow it. I bought a couple of pair of tires, but I'm, accessories not included, by the way. I should have read the fine print. But it's so easy to fall into those things, and all of a sudden, when we reflect back to talking about time, that time that you were going to use for something else, it was going to better yourself. Hey, I wanted to pick up this book and start reading, or listen to an audiobook, or this story I wanted to follow up on it and find more about because it means something to me. All of a sudden you're down the hole, and you look up and it's hours later, and you're still sitting on the fucking toilet, and your legs are numb, and you're like, wait a minute, what? You need to prioritize your time and your life at that point.
And not to say that Instagram is bad. It's use it as an inspiration and as a way to talk to people. Don't use it as a way to compare yourself and end up on ass Jeep. Which
I better just double check to see if they're still up. They're still up and working. It still runs. You are a driven individual, and a lot of times when you talk to people that have that drive, they've found different avenues and different people, different stories, different books that they have taken pieces out of. It's really tough to dive into a whole book and say, I'm going to follow this guy because this guy's got it together. I think you have to have, this smorgasbord of different ideas and put them all together to what fits, your personality type and what you want to accomplish. Who are the people that are out there that you follow, you read, and watch their videos and stuff on? Because I think that does touch back to how social media can be a useful tool. If you're feeling lazy about yourself, dude, I'm telling you, and he's probably going to copyright infringe me for saying his name so much, but you jump on fucking David Goggins' Instagram page and you just watch 2 videos. And if you don't feel like you want to get up and do something, we should probably make sure your heart's still beating. But there's those people that are out there who, for you, do you go, I got this part of what gets me up and going every day from this person. Who are those people for you?
So really, over the last 3 years, consistently, there's been 2. Mm-hmm. Within the fitness health sphere, Andy Frisella. Mm-hmm. Podcast is called the MFCEO Project. He owns First Form.
Is it the 75 hard guy?
Hard, yeah. Yep. So he owns First Form, which is a supplement company, which subs carries after kind of pounded in them to get it. But he also owns a lot of other brands. But the one thing that he does really well on social media is he tells it the way it is. And with that, he's not going, hey, look at this shiny toy, you can get this, and then it's just a sales funnel.
Right.
He's actually showing the bad days. He's using social media in a way that helps people. And with that, even, he has the podcast, which has, a couple hundred episodes. Mm-hmm. One of probably the most consistent podcasts I've listened to over the last 3 years. He doesn't have any guests on it, so it's him and his people within his company, occasionally guests, talking about how they build their brand. He's someone that ultimately I think is a good dude and one person to follow, but I always try to, again, as you were saying, you need to have that smorgasbord of people.
Right.
Tom Bilyeu as well. So Tom Bilyeu started Quest Nutrition with a couple buddies quite a few years ago. They primarily make protein bars.
Yeah, Quest bars.
Yeah, so within actually the last, I don't know if it was announced within the last couple of weeks, they actually just got purchased for over $1 billion. So when he started it, they were, a protein bar, and they grew so fast that they were called a unicorn company because they were valued at over $1 billion before investments and so on and so forth. He's moved on from that because it wasn't necessarily what he wanted to do long term, and he started hosting Impact Theory. And he's bringing on, originally where I found David Goggins, people like this, and kind of giving their perspective on stuff as a focus of helping people instead of shiny toy on Instagram. But he's one of the realest dudes out there too. Those two. But I follow so many people too. David Goggins. so on and so forth, all the way down the line.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people I find from those people. And that's probably why I've been so attracted to them in the first place, is because they're almost a filtration device of who's actually legitimate out there and who's bullshit. Because there's so many people out there, too, that are, running a YouTube ad, hey, sign up for my course, it's $397, and you're going to make $1 billion drop shipping XYZ on Amazon.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's scamalicious.
Yeah,
is what it is, and they will show you the things that I think by human nature you find like, beaches, hot chicks, really nice cars, bumping music, parties.
In the fitness industry, it's people that are shredded.
Yeah, and if you know enough about the fitness industry and Instagram models and things like that, it takes a lot to get that look for that one picture.
Yep.
It's not always competition mode. It's not always, what happens during the winter. Winter is about bulking up. It's about eating and bulking up.
Yep. And people don't realize, too, that even in that scenario, being that lean is not healthy.
No, you're not supposed to have 2% body fat.
They're the people that are out there that are genetic freaks that, so be it, they can maintain that year-round and actually be healthy. But the majority of people, that's not healthy.
Right.
And that's what people, are attracted to. And it's this entire thing with any industry. You're trying to break down those barriers of what is actually good for you and what's out there trying to get you to buy something. And
to try to find the right products that are out there. I think when you talk about the nutritional companies that are out, there are some, I think you mentioned, that are going about it the right way, that are acknowledging it's not just drink this and you're going to look like this.
Drink 7 shakes and you'll be shredded.
You're going to be fine. If your hair starts to fall out, don't worry about it. You look good bald, lady. It's going to be okay. But then there are some that are out there that you do find a real valuable tutorial about. It's not just this. The reason you're taking this product is because it gives you this, which your body needs to do this. You also need to eat. You also need to eat clean or eat healthy. You can have cheat days, or you can have this, and
a lot of that too is you look for those companies that have that value add, because even like a protein company, at the end of the day, they're selling protein.
Yeah.
It probably comes out of Wisconsin because we have cheese and cows. It's all the same stuff. They put their own little spin on it, and then you're looking for the company that's actually, you like what they're doing. You believe, that they're actually good people, and that's where you kind of build your foundation, and then, you use the additional education components that they provide. And
the inspirational, folks that you mentioned in there, that's where those 15-second Instagram videos or Facebook, wherever you get your fill from, those can lead to really good things. Not only for inspiration, but, like I follow Gary Vee, and so from a business standpoint, or from kind of even a mental clarity standpoint, if I get 15 seconds of here's why it's okay for me to say fuck and I don't care what anybody else says about it, and I don't necessarily try to like steal that idea, and then repeat it like I'm just like him. It's more of a okay, now I can justify why I feel like I need to say, this is what this is just how I speak. Being authentic about who you are and what that can lead to. And then you follow a guy like Goggins, or you follow.
If you check out Andy Frisella too, he no filter.
Yeah,
he'll say fuck about 100 times.
And hang on, let me jump on.
Yeah,
I think I did. I jumped on him.
He's that type of person where it's he understands that stuff like that might not be beneficial for him in business because there's that stigma of like professionalism. Mm-hmm. But it's who he is.
Yeah.
And you're not going to try to fake who you are to, meet that criteria.
I went on and did, and I think you made a comment on it, and I appreciate that. When I went through, and it wasn't even, I made a very long post, and when I got let go from radio back in February, I specifically did not go out and did not go on social media and make a long post about my plight and how I felt and what this had done to me. I stood back and I put one thing out and I just said, thank you for 20 years. That was it. That was my one statement about it. And it caused some rumble, and I did, talk to some people directly, but it wasn't the rant that I went on a couple of weeks ago or last week or whenever, was really more about you have that one moment. I think I was downstairs, I was working out, and it just like, I was just jazzed, I was just like feeling it. Maybe it was the pre-workout. I don't know. It could have been. It was a little jittery. But, you get to, it was just more of a, here's how I'm feeling at this point. A lot of people, I got text messages, I got phone calls, I got emails. My mother is like, what's going on? I'm like, don't take what I say as a statement of weakness. Take it as a statement of strength.
Yeah. And
there was one gentleman who I don't know why the fuck he follows my page. Like, of all things to follow. Like, I'm, sharing Goggin stuff, and I'm, fuck this, fuck that. This fucking guy just got hit by a tire. And it was a longer post about, how he was offended by what I said. And at the end, he's like, but hey, good luck to you. I'm like, fucking come into my house and tell me to watch my mouth. This is the damn internet, it's a free country. But when you have, to get back to the way that people are on social media, you can take these little pieces of information, 1% better today, or even if it's looking at one of those charts that says, hey, you want to get yourself up to running 2 miles, don't start by running 2 miles, because you're going to make it about a tenth of a mile. Use some of that information, intertwine it into your, into your repertoire of what you want to do, what you want to accomplish for yourself.
See, that goes back to my inner nerd too, because I mean that's psychology.
If you want, mathing it out.
Yeah, if you want to start, building a habit. If I want to start brushing my teeth, I don't start by, going full in. You start by picking up the toothbrush, and putting it down, and
Baby
then the
steps.
next night you pick it up, you touch your mouth, and you build it like that. And that's kind of how. I mean, that's going back to my inner nerd, and that's who I am. I like that kind of stuff too, and then applying it, because you get, again, the people on social media that are gonna post, hey, I just ran this marathon, and then you go, oh shit, I can't run a marathon. I can't even run down the block.
I don't even drive 26 miles, man. I don't.
And I see even around here, I mean, there's this bigger gentleman that rides around bike, and he's been making huge progress.
Mm-hmm.
If he were to go look at, a professional biker, he's gonna go, oh shit, I feel bad. But that's not the way to look at it.
No.
It's the way you look at stuff like that is, that's possible, not that I don't have it.
Yeah, because if it's been done before,
Yeah.
it can be done again. And that, I think about that when I think about your skate park, that you did when you were 16 and gathering all that. That, if you know that there's some groundwork. Now, there are exceptional people out there that will go and do things that have never been done before. And as soon as they do them, now they've been done, now they can be done again. It's every record that's been set, somebody can go and try to outdo it.
The first sub 5 minute mile.
Yeah.
No one thought it was possible. And then as soon as it was done, people were coming out of the woodworks running under 5 miles.
Yeah, like 6 weeks later, it was that record was broken. So once the groundwork, once the foundation is built, it can be done. But if you look at it as a person who has never run a marathon, or a person who's never done a push-up, or a person who has never, been on a cycle before, and you look at the best person that's out there, that is going to look unattainable. You know, you need to look at, if I can get up and I can do 2 push-ups today, or if I can do 1 pull-up, or if I can,
reps.
read a page.
Yep.
I know I just can't find the mental clarity to be able to sit down and read a book or read 10 pages. Start with a page.
Yeah.
Start with a paragraph.
Start with a little bit, and you start building on
Look
it.
at the front of the book. Look at the title. Read it. Find out who published it. Get those.
Yeah.
And once you start building on that, all of a sudden,
You're steering a big ship. You're not trying to, pick where you're going. You're trying to just steer it in the right direction.
and everybody wants, and we talked about quickness. Everybody wants these because you can get so many things in a very short period of time. You want the information, you can have. You don't need to go look at the Encyclopedia Britannica to get it. You go to Google, or you ask one of your robots that's running your life. They're all over here, so I don't say their names out loud. Also, lawsuit. But for bigger things, for big personal gains, whether they're physical, whether it's mental, whether it's business, you have to be able to understand that it is not, I have an idea, I'm going to start this company, and in 6 months, I'm going to not have to have enough. This is going to be my only thing. It's all I'm going to do.
People are looking for that it's made kind of a thing.
Here it is. I want that. Hand me the keys to it, and now I have it. And look, I'm a success now. What doesn't make you successful is the ease of it. What makes you successful is how difficult was it to get there.
Once you kind of make that paradigm shift too, it almost becomes more fun. The more you can make it suck for yourself, is you start looking at it as a challenge instead of a oh, I have to do this. It's I get to.
Right. And you're able to look back when you do, because I know you haven't yet. It's been 3 years. Don't look back and see how successful you become. But when you get to look back and you get to say to yourself, look in your mirror and say, holy shit, like I did that. Like if you would have told me 5 years ago I was going to be able to handle that situation or get from here to there or be able to lift this or push that or run that far, I told you you're fucking crazy. But look, you did that, and not only did you do that, when you got to that line, you just kept on going. You kept on going. Yeah. You did more. You took that challenge, you wrapped it up in its box, you put it up on the shelf, and you said, done, and then you moved on to the next thing. And that's what you need to build on, whether it's for whatever path that you're on as a human being. Build those successes. Put them in the box. Look back at them and say, yeah, I did that already.
Yep.
Now I can do more. I ran 5 miles. Now I can do 6. I can do 7. I can do 10.
Hell yeah.
It's awesome. Do you consider yourself, just because I do follow you on Instagram, which I think they should be paying us for dropping their name so much, but I'll wait for that check to come. A motivator, an inspirational person. A lot of the things that you post out there are uplifting. They're stories of success. They're stories of kind of this forward movement. Not stagnant. It keeps on. It's progress. It's here's my bike before, here's my bike after. Thanks for bringing your bike. We got to check that out before you take off out of here. But do you when you post stuff or when you scroll down your Instagram, do you find yourself like maybe not feeling like you're being inspirational, but knowing there are people out there that are taking your words and taking your story and using it as a way to get those boxes on the shelf? It's
always surreal to me, honestly. Whenever someone says that something that I said had impacted them, and in a positive, negative, whatever way, it's kind of surreal. Because even on my Instagram personally, I don't follow that many people. Right. I personally use Instagram as a platform to inspire myself, to find things that inspire me so that I can work towards those things. And I try to put that back out there because that's what I'm getting from it. So whenever I find that, something like that comes back to me, I'm super grateful for it. Because, at the end of the day, it's, bring others up. Don't, what's the saying that rising tide rises all ships? So rather than trying to, focus on sinking other people, bring everyone up. Life's abundant. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of stuff out there that can, be beneficial. And even on like some of the people that I interact with on Instagram, they have directly competing businesses with mine. But in the back of my head, what's our ultimate why? Why are we doing it in the first place? We're trying to, fight this mission of how do we help reduce obesity? How do we get people having a healthy relationship with food? They might be my competitor, but we're on the same mission. How do we bring everyone up instead of sinking? Yeah, we're all fighting for the same team, right, in theory. When you, and I use this in a more general than just in a specific instance, from when you decided to start your own business, grow it, go through the growing pains of and struggles that go along with it, and now to where you've had some success and you're 3 years in with obviously no finish line in sight, and you are posting inspirational things and images of yourself in successful, I don't want to say successful situations, but in places of like things that make you happy. Yep. Your vehicle, your bike, the gym, out finding zen in nature. Have you experienced any haters out there? I want to say haters, but like naysayers, people that maybe questioned the direction that you were going. And that can come from a lot of different angles. That can come from people who are just assholes and obviously have insecurities about themselves. That can come from people that really, truly fucking care about you, but they're like, don't step over this cliff. Like, what do you think you're doing? Like, yeah, this is not, this doesn't keep you safe and comfortable and in the blanket of arms wrapped around you. Did you get any of that, through that process? So by nature, I'm an introvert. I isolate myself. If someone starts pushing negative things towards me, they're out. Yeah. If it's on Instagram, I block them. Right. So be it. I get a lot of pushback from people that I grew up with that I don't follow on social media. They go, "Oh, what are you, too good for me now?" Oh, yeah. And it's like, no, I use this as a very intentional thing. if you see me at the gas station, I'm going to be the friendliest motherfucker to your face.
Right.
Doesn't mean I have to follow you on Instagram. So I get that not a terribly ton. I mean, I don't really get like aggressive, like, people.
Right.
But when I do, I just cut them out. Because, I mean, honestly, like, it says more about who you are when you are reaching out to someone else saying, oh, why are you doing this or that? You're talking about your own limitations. And that's, again, why I try to post things that are inspirational, not only to other people, per se, but it's because it's something that I'm doing for myself.
Right.
Because, I mean, if I can post myself, hey, I had this idea for this motorcycle that I've been wanting to do since I was young. I actually got it done. That's me telling myself, and it's, reiterating that fact that I have control and I'm able to do these things.
When you have lofty goals in life or physical fitness or health or weight, if you put those things out in front of people for people to see, and a lot of times it is people that maybe don't know you the best, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it could be your closest friend, it could be your spouse, it could be your brother, sister, mother, father. They can say things, and not again out of resentment towards you necessarily, but about insecurities about themselves. When you want more, when you want to be more than just 8 to 5er in a job you don't like, because a lot of people go through that. Whatever path led them into the career that they chose, or however their health is inclined. Maybe it's an injury. Kids will drain the fuck out of you. Like, seriously. Like, I put on more weight when my wife was pregnant than she did. Like, I'm like, KFC, let's do it. And stop at Mickey-D's on the way home. But people will end up in that rut, and they will stay in that rut, and they'll get comfortable in that rut, and life will just kind of go. It will be like, all right, well, I get up and I do my thing, and then I have my lunch, and then I come home and I do my thing, and the weekends, we go out on the boat and we go to this fun shit, and it's a good time. But the minute you start putting things out there about personal accomplishments, being in the gym, being fit, hey, I just ran 6 miles this morning. I ran 6 miles before, the rest of the world was up. And you're right. A lot of times you do that. I post things like that on occasion just because I want to be like, yeah, I'm telling my story here.
Yeah.
And the pushback comes from people that want to kind of make you this like, well, you make me feel bad.
Yep.
You did that, and that makes me feel bad because I can't do that. I won't do that.
They minimize others so that they don't feel bad about themselves.
Maybe they really fucking want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to be like, you know what? I'm tired of shopping in this section. I'm tired of being tired all the time. I would love to be able to, find that motivation, mental, like I said, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's 95% in your head. The rest is just your brain going, fuck you. They want to do that.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. And they're like, no, you come back down. Come back over here.
It's so easy to do on social media because there's no barrier for you doing it. You can hide behind the phone.
Right.
When I see those people in person, I always try to refocus myself in the fact that they're probably having a shitty day.
Right.
And they probably need help more than they need me to get angry and flustered and spit something back at them. Because that's something that I can do that, I might be able to go, oh, fuck you for this, X, Y, Z. But you have to understand that they're probably doing it not as I actually don't appreciate what you did, is more of a, how do I get there too?
Right.
And it's, again, bringing them up rather than bringing you both down.
Yeah, and I think if you can find an avenue to open that conversation, to have that dialogue, to say, because I think human instinct to react to something that posts, like fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to do this because this is what I want to do, because this makes me feel better about me when my day starts.
Yep.
But if you can let that 5 seconds go, take a couple of deep breaths and get to a point where you're like, hey, this is my thing. I want to be able to whether it is get up in the morning and get outside and run and breathe fresh air and
Well, I mean, I even get I'm tattooed on my hands.
Yeah.
I get people in the grocery store and you're gonna look bad when you're old, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
this makes me happy.
Yeah, you're apparently going to look great when you're old. I don't know. It's you'll have that.
We're all going to look like skin and
does
bones.
it really matter? We're all going to get skin cancer and die here eventually. So what the fuck does it matter if it's at least it'll look pretty.
Yeah.
On the way out. Yeah, I get that the same comment, especially when I first got them done because mine have been done for years and I had a child and I had to stop getting tattoos. Apparently, it's in the contract. But a lot of judging you externally, like, oh my gosh, and I think that there's obviously there's a generation that thinks exactly that. Probably the same guy that commented on my F-bomb laden post on Facebook. Fuckity fuck. Thank you.
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat.
Thank you. He's here. Carlin lives. But and then there's also like the sect of society, whether it's religious based, personal preference based, that find themselves outspoken, and usually even that is an inner reflection of, man, I really wanted to get the cross on my back, but they can't do it for whatever reason. So again, it's social media light, in public these days, because everybody's, for the most part, outside of people who don't have a filter, is usually in Wisconsin, especially when you talk about excuse me, sorry, let me get the door for you.
Yep.
Very rarely do you hear those kind of comments in public. Now you jump on social media.
They're everywhere.
And if you are not able to handle them, do what Dan does and block them and say, I don't need that shit in my life.
Yeah.
Or be able to, use them as fuel to become even more driven. Because the reason that those people are commenting those things, the reason that they're being negative is because they have something wrong. If you can rise above that, and even better, help that person find some direction.
In general, people are good. At the end of the day, most people are good. Most people are not going out to, intentionally do something bad. Those people exist, but most people are not that way. It's just taking a step back from your situation and understanding that so that you can help people.
And the problem with because there are so few, those few are really loud, and they love to use all caps.
Oh yeah.
Like, is your all caps button stuck on your phone? Like, I get what you're trying to be really loud with written word. It's tough to do.
It's a kind of a running joke in the kitchen that when we get orders that come through when they type their name in all caps, it's like, what are you doing? Are you angry at the world?
He really wants his food.
Get it back.
Get it here now. Like maybe that speeds up the delivery process. Like the UPS guy gets in, like, shit, man, we gotta get to this guy's house because he's got all caps. Like, man's making a statement. MidwestMeals.com is the website. Go and check it out. Give people kind of a synopsis of what it is that you do. Obviously, we talked about nutritional value, but really, if someone is intrigued by a lot of the things that we kind of sprinkled into the conversation about, don't have to worry about being in the kitchen all the time. You do have options when you don't want to go through a drive-through. Tell kind of people about Midwest Meals, the concept, and how they can get in touch.
So the entire concept revolves around the fact that people don't want to, or the fact that people maybe don't know how because they weren't raised to learn how to cook, and bringing it with the convenience of fast food. So if you go to the website, you'll notice too that we have other resources like free macronutrient setup, stuff like that are going to ultimately long term help you understand how to be healthy, even if you aren't using our products. But the actual products themselves, they're pretty simple. I mean, it's going to be a protein, a carb, a veggie for most of them. But it's fully cooked, healthy meals. So, I mean, the biggest concept out there that people are probably familiar with, like Blue Apron of the world.
Right.
They will send you ingredients and you cook them. It's the exact same concept, but one step further. We cook them, you just heat them up. But with that, then, we're providing the nutrition information on it. We're actually going through, this is something that I spent the last probably week and a half, is going through and reworking all of our nutrition down to hey, this is how we cook it, and we're going to calculate cook down. Because one thing in nutrition and food, there is label accuracy that can become a problem for people who are actually trying to live a healthy lifestyle. The FDA doesn't require perfect accuracy in labels, so companies will round stuff to get consumers to buy more stuff. So if something comes out to, say, 110 calories, they're going to put 100 on the package so that more people buy it. So that's one thing that I've spent the last week doing, is going through those things so that our label claims are as close to accurate as possible. Ultimately, the entire point of the website, the entire point of the business, is to break down the convenience and the excuses people have for not living a healthier lifestyle. Because, I mean, there's so many other options that are out there, McDonald's, so on and so forth, that make it really easy to eat food. So there's a business application that you can apply to something that's better for people.
Right. I think there's the fucking FDA, man. I tell you, it's like when they first started with the label things, and even at the time, which was quite a while ago now, it was good. It was you felt like you had some sense of clarity. But it's kind of like everything the government does. We're like, yeah, we're kind of all the way in, but we're kind of not.
Yep.
It boggles my mind. But I think when you look at that kind of option out there, and I still on occasion will hit the drive-thru, and I'll still do not so healthy things. But one of the biggest and most eye-opening things to me was, and it happened probably more recently, and I'm a guy who really has tried to maintain some level of fitness for a long time. Mm-hmm. Even before my wife and I got together, before we had a child, there was a window there that everybody was like, oh, whatever. But then after that, and both of us, it's been more about exercise. It's been more about, grinding. But when it started to be, when I get to a certain age, which you've already discussed there, youngin',
you're still young.
Young at heart, they say.
What?
No, you literally are as young as you feel. 39 is the new 38. But you have to start to understand what food does to your body. You have to start to understand and make note of, when I eat this and afterwards I feel like this, and whether that's guilt, whether that's lethargic, tired, you just like, sometimes when you have some meals, you'll just feel fucking gross. You're like, oh my God, like why? You have to be able to harness that feeling, because all you're really doing is super serving your frontal cortex that says, this is really fucking good. Yep. You need this, and you need this now. And you're going to have to live not only with that 10 minutes later, that feeling that you have in your stomach, in your brain, in your body, but you're going to have to live with it. If you're on an exercise program, you go, well, shit, that was 600 calories, and now that run is now, that's baseline. I just did 5.5 miles, and that just cleared out that one meal. If you start to be able to attach that feeling and subside a little bit that human urge, not all the time. I mean, it's okay to treat yourself once in a while, but you get yourself a Midwest meal and you put something good in your body that's good, that tastes good, that's delicious, and you don't have to have that. You get done eating, you're like, oh shit, like I just provided my body exactly what it needed.
Yep. That
craving, that mental thing that says, oh God, I saw the fucking lit up sign on the side of the road, and I was like, yeah, we got to go there.
And even to add to that too, is there's that layer, and you kind of briefly talked about it too. It's not only the things that you're eating, but how you react to them. Mm-hmm. And it's that additional layer of psychology that, hey, maybe this isn't the best scenario that I'm stopping at McDonald's, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it and go down this vicious cycle of, oh, well, might as well not work out now because I'm at baseline, and then all of a sudden you feel like crap because you suboptimal ingredients, and you go down this path. Yeah. So is eating McDonald's bad? Is a guy who is a health nut? No. It has its place. It's just you need to understand that there's more layers to nutrition and to living a healthier lifestyle than just, I need to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli.
Right. There's so much more.
Will that potentially help you reach your goal? Yes. But life happens. I mean, if you want to go to your kid's party and there's donuts and you haven't eaten anything all day and you have a donut, is that the worst thing for you? No.
Right. Yeah, you got to be able to let go of that.
Yeah, you have to be able to live with it. And I mean, even around here, try to get someone not to drink beer in the Midwest.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I mean, that's
ain't happening.
I'm my best hypocrite right here, but it only goes so far. You have to be able to, I think, fully have a full concept of exactly what it is you're trying to do,
right,
and how you want to feel.
Right.
If you want to feel like shit, have a 12-pack. I mean, it should be at no matter what. Well, maybe if you're young in your drinking adventures and you're doing the bar thing, you can probably recover a little faster. But you have to understand that every decision you make today will certainly have an impact on what you're going to do tomorrow.
Yep.
I know if it's a Friday night and I'm like, I still want to kind of get up and knock something out on Saturday morning. If it gets to be a late Friday night, everything is affected. That getting up is, talking about that 95% of your brain that gets you out of bed, that becomes a real struggle. And you will sit there. You will be awake. That's the toughest part, is you will be awake. You'll be laying there in bed knowing that all you'd have to do is step out, and you're just justifying why you don't fucking want to, like, well, 12 beers was a lot, and then after you had, 3, nachos sounded good. And then all of a sudden you got home and you're like, shit, I'm still hungry. And all the easiest things to grab are never going to be good for you. And all of a sudden your Saturday, you wanted to get up and knock something out, or you wanted to get up and meditate or read. Now your day is, if you can't start your day in the proper way, unless you're prepared for it, if you go, you know what, fuck it, Saturday is going to be my day, I'm not going to worry about shit.
And that's exactly why kind of I get up in the morning too, is it's to provide that alternative. It's so easy that you don't have an excuse otherwise. Right. So that you get it on a upward roll instead of a downward spiral. Yeah. You want to be able to get up and start your day. And then that leads to the timing. I mean, we this has been a very cyclical conversation here. But the reason it's cyclical is because it all ties together. Yep. And what Dan is doing with Midwest Meals is it's so much more than just the nutrition level of it. It's so much more than just the ease of it. When you start talking about time, and we talked about schedules and breaking down your day, and you set that goal, whatever it is. If you look in the mirror and you're like, I want to fucking lose 15 pounds, or and never say, I need to because of. Yep. I need to lose 15 pounds because I have to fit into a suit for a wedding, or for ladies, I fit into a dress, or I have my reunion coming up, and you need to do it because you want to. This is who you want to be, what you want to do. You're tired of looking in that mirror and saying, fuck, I'm not where I want to be physically, mentally, I'm all over the map. I can't quiet my thoughts. In my career, I get up and I'm just pissed off because I got to go to a job that I hate. I really like dogs, except for mine, who's been barking this whole interview. No, I love you, Tucker. Check him out on Instagram. I like Tucker too.
Yeah, that's why he's barking. Like, I've had people down here before, and he does his 3 minutes of introduction, and then he's like chills. You come in, Dan comes in.
He's talking in on the podcast.
He's like, hey, that guy smells like food. Smells good, but you have to be able to figure out what it is that you want, and then all of a sudden, all the things that we talked about throughout the course of this start to make sense. Like, okay, if I have that extra time and I look at my day, and maybe I do get up. You don't start getting up at 4:00 in the morning. If you get up at 7, start getting up at 6:30, 6:40. Backtrack.
Even 6:55.
Yeah, start small, and then all of a sudden, this just becomes part of your habit. And then 6 months, 8 months, however long you set that goal for, you look at yourself and go, I didn't do it because I wanted to fit into that. I did it because.
End of the day, it's figuring out who you want to be and working towards it, even if it's a small incremental change, because that's where you find your passion, what you want to do with your life. Ultimately, then everything else kind of happens, and you isolate yourself from the noise.
And then when you get to that mark, that quote unquote, where you set that goal, and you realize that that's not the end. And again, we talked about it. That finish line just moves.
Yep.
Now I'm getting up at 5, and now I'm getting up at 4:30 because not only do I want to do this before, I found meditation, or I found, if I can, you're trying to read 10 pages of a book a day, a paper book. They still make them, people.
They're cheap too.
You want to be able to add that into your day, and now that you're like, well, shit, I went from getting up at 7 and being lethargic, and it took me an hour to get up, and I had 6 cups of coffee, to, man, I get up at 5:30, and I want to get up at 5:15 because I want to get those 10 pages in. You can really, now you're starting to make some changes.
You build some momentum.
Permanent. Yeah. And with that, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Dan Beck, MidwestMeals.com is the website. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, my man.
Really appreciate it. Great conversation. I hope maybe somewhere in that, hour plus that, somebody listens and they go, yeah, that's what I needed to hear today. Because I think when you start changing a person, that person all of a sudden can start changing not only themselves, maybe the people around them, and we get the trickle down effect where all of a sudden everybody's better, and we all live in a merry-go-round world, man.
Let us know too, because I mean, we're the type of people that we're gonna bring people up. Yeah. So if something's helpful to you, share it out there with other people and let us know.
Yeah. If you have questions, it's so simple to ask. It's don't ever feel like a question is stupid. Especially when you're talking about something that you legit have a question about. You're like, though, I really don't want to ask, what my caloric intake should be. I really don't want to ask, what kind of running should, if you ask questions, especially, and you can find people out there that will answer them for you. Start with the easiest question. How do I start running? Well, you get up, put your shoes on, you go outside, start fucking running. Pretend like a bear is chasing you. No, there's steps to everything. And if you can take that baby step, the next one gets a little easier, and so on and so forth. Next time you're in a full-out sprint and you feel amazing about yourself. And thank you for the inspiration today.
Fuck yeah.
Appreciate it.